We are live, and I'm just gonna wait for a couple people to join. All right, we got some people in here. Exciting. Enough Mercy, Taryn, hi Raz, hello. What's going on, everyone? 619 Yassine. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Jambo, aloha, como estamos? My name is Naz Perez, and I am so excited today to be talking to Elizabeth Lail. You guys may know her from the hit show You on Netflix, but she's also in Once Upon a Time. She's in the Gossip Girl reboot. And today I'm going to talk to her about a new show that she's starring in called Ordinary Joe on NBC that's airing on Monday nights. So let's get her in here. Eric Davis is in here. Oh, Elizabeth, I see you. Here we go. I'm so excited to talk to her. Hi, I am Jimmy. What's going on, everyone? See if this is. There you are. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm realizing that this is my first Instagram live ever.
No way. Oh my
Just
God.
like in my life.
I feel so honored. How do you feel about it? It's so funny, right?
Well, I was nervous that we were going to have like all kinds of technical difficulties and I had to have like an Instagrammer walk me through what to do, but feeling good.
Well, you're killing it already. Where are you right now?
I'm in Georgia. I'm in Atlanta filming.
Nice. Always on the job. I love it. Do you like to go by Elizabeth, by the way? I wanted to ask you that before we start.
I do. You know, I always start as Elizabeth. And then like as I get to know people, then they come up with like their nicknames for me. You know, there's so many different nicknames for Elizabeth that I have like a jillion. So
that's actually why I asked, because I have a friend, Elizabeth, and it's like Liz, Lizzie, Beth.
Yeah.
So
my best friend calls me Belle. And my husband calls me Elib. There's like all kinds of weird ones.
Oh, I like Elib. Congratulations, by the way. I know you got married this year. That's super exciting. But let's talk about Ordinary Joe. The first thing I wrote down, because I was so stoked to talk to you today, is a lot of people know you from the Netflix show You, where you play opposite Penn Badgley, who plays a guy named Joe. And of course, now you're in another show called Ordinary Joe, which I'm sure a lot of people have asked you this, but is the character named Joe a prereq for you before you sign onto a role?
Maybe it should be. You know, it turned out so well the last time. Hopefully it's a good omen. I know I'm always thinking is like something inside of me is like manifesting that kind of name towards me. I don't know what that says about me or why that would be, but so far it's been kind of like a good luck charm.
I love it. Well, you're fantastic in Ordinary Joe. Can you describe the show? Because the plot it's so cool. Can you describe it to people who maybe haven't seen it yet?
Yes. Ordinary Joe is really about the choices we make and how they define us. So we meet our hero, Joe, right when he's graduating college, and he has these three paths before him, these three different choices that he could potentially make. And we, as the audience, get to watch all three of those choices unfold. And we see how his career is different, how his love life is different, how, you know, his family relationships are different. And we kind of see all those three paths unfold and intertwine. Kind of like if we got to see, you know, if we had chosen a different career or a different partner or something, how our life would have turned out. We're actually getting to see that in real time on this show.
Which is so cool, and I can't wait to dive into that. I do want to say you are coming in a little blurry, Elizabeth, and I want to make sure everyone sees your face. I don't know if maybe you can move to a spot that has like, let's see.
Less blur.
Less blur. I'm
like trapped in this my little guest room.
There's nowhere to go. It may be fine. I just want to make sure, obviously, everyone can see your face. Let's see, guys. Give us 1 second.
Am I still here? Is that okay?
Yeah, no, you're good. Someone wrote Joe has hacked her internet, which I thought was so funny. So good. Okay, so so obviously, your character is in three different timelines, like you said, which to me, I was just like, how is that experience for you as an actor? Are you shooting one at a time, or do you have to like shift mindsets every day on set?
We have to shift mindsets, unfortunately. They try their best to get it all in one day, but of course, there's just so much going on that goes into the schedule that we're often shifting from one character to the next. And I always joke that I really should have like a little cheat sheet on my hand, like with who am I married to, what's my job, what drives me. Like I should just have a little cheat sheet, which I do. I like have it in my journal. Um, but it's tricky. It's really fun though, because you get to have like all these different experiences. And right now we're filming an episode where it's entirely flashback. So
Oh.
we're in college the whole episode, which is a little nugget for you guys.
Oh, I love that. I love that little sneak peek. Yeah, that must be really hard. Do you have any tricks that you do to get into the Jenny that you play?
I do. You know what? The main thing I do is I just I think about what drives her, and it's all based on the choices that have unfolded for her, whether or not she chose to keep her son or give him up for adoption. I think in that world,
Hmm.
there's more of a drive to be as successful and perfect as possible because it has to have been worth it to give up the
Mm.
child. So
Hmm.
it's little things like that. It's like what drives you shifts based on kind of that one choice for her. Did she keep the child or did she not?
Right. So it's like just keeping that in mind. That's interesting. And I was thinking about how, because of COVID last year, production was delayed. So I believe you guys were supposed to
Oh
shoot in
no.
March and that got pushed to November. What was that like having to revisit the character? Because I'm sure when you're prepping and studying, right, it's like top of mind and then it goes away. So what were you feeling internally? Were you just like, oh, I want to play this? And like, how did you revisit the character later on in the year?
I felt very lucky to have had a job waiting for me, during quarantine. But
Right.
because of the pandemic and just because of the world we were in, it was like digging into the character was kind of the last thing on my mind. I was like, okay, I'll come back to this when it comes, if it comes. There was a
Right.
time where it was like, I don't know if this is going to happen
Wow.
again. Yeah, it was hard. And then when we went back to filming, we were in Chicago originally, and it was still kind of like the fear of COVID. I mean, it's still here as well, but this was
Right.
before we were able to be vaccinated, and I tested positive one day. I spent the entire day crying. I was like, "Oh, I've
Oh,
ruined the show. I've ruined the schedule. They're gonna fire me. I've killed somebody." You feel it feels so awful. And luckily, I took like three other PCR tests. They were all negative. It was a false positive, but
wow.
it was awful, and I really spent the pilot episode just with my head down. I was like, just don't get
Mm-hmm.
anyone sick, don't get sick. And
Mm-hmm.
in a way, it kind of, it keeps you separated from your castmates and from your
Right.
crew who normally you're bonding with. So it was a very unique experience and hard in that way. Hard to be kind of like living in fear all the time. But we're so lucky
Right.
to have been able to make it. Thank goodness, knock on wood, we made it and we're still making it. It's just, I feel so grateful.
Yeah. It's really crazy to think of like how for this role for you in particular, it's like you're playing three different roles in one, and then you have this other thing you're worrying about. Like I feel like people at home don't realize like how much it is. When we watch the three different timelines though, I don't know if we ever find out which one is real,
But if you had to pick, Elizabeth, which one, was like the one that is real? Is there one that you're sort of close to and attached to?
Jimmy always asks me like who my favorite Joe is. And I have to say my favorite Joe is probably Cop Joe. And so I think
Wow.
of, and I mostly because he's the cutest one, in my opinion.
That's funny. That's so
Jimmy
funny.
knows. Jimmy knows. I'm like, there's something about Cop Joe. Um, and I really like that world because Jenny chose to keep their child, but she has this massive secret about, who the real father of her child is, which I think is
Right.
always makes for great drama.
Yeah. Well, we love the drama. I love that that's the real one. Is there one Jenny that's more challenging to play or that doesn't come as easily?
That's a good question. It's all pretty challenging. It's never
Yeah.
necessarily easy. It's always, I mean, acting is always a challenge. It's always asking for all of you.
Hmm.
Um, but they can have like quite different energies. And it's funny because in one world I'll be acting with Jimmy and it'll be like we're finally our relationship is on track and we're falling in love. And then in
Hmm.
the other world, everything he does drives me crazy.
Hmm.
And he's like we're constantly pushing up against each other. So it's just really fun in that way. But I have to remind myself, with my little cheat sheet.
Yeah. I love it. That's amazing. So I saw someone comment and ask what show are we talking about if they just joined. And I just want to say hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Everyone's saying hi back. Love you and Ordinary Joe. We're talking about Elizabeth's role in Ordinary Joe on NBC, airing Monday nights right now, where she plays a character named Jenny, who is Joe's college best friend. And it's basically a show about a guy who makes one decision and three different timelines or three different ways that his life could play out. I wanted to ask you, Elizabeth, is there, because this show is about the different choices we make in life, and I love shows that are sort of, existential like that or thought provoking where you leave, you turn the show off and you start thinking like, how would my life have turned out? Because it's about that, I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite line that you say in the show that has like stuck with you?
Oh, I love that question. Uh, oh man, I wish I had prepared because we move so fast in television. Sometimes you go from one thing, you
Right.
go from one thing to the next. Um,
It could even
you
be
know,
maybe any,
I
go ahead.
well, I can't think of a line, but I will say that when we started working on it and I first realized I was like, well, the biggest difference in all three of these worlds are like who she loves.
Mm,
And it just reminded me that we all have like the ability to love multiple people and in very different
yeah.
ways. And
Hmm.
it like was very confronting in my own life. I was like, oh, I've had like a few great loves, and then I've just gotten married, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, but this is my partner, and
Yeah.
just how like life isn't so black and white, and that it
Hmm.
really is just the choices we make and who we choose to love in their season, and they were like
Hmm.
for that season, and you might be in a new one now.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. And like as your soul evolves, like your connections sort of
Yeah.
evolve and you just end up with it's also, I mean, I could talk to you about that forever, obviously,
Forever.
but but we should talk about this show and acting because I remember watching you on Once Upon a Time, and I know that was your big break playing Anna. I mean, you've done so much. Your range is just incredible as somebody who's watched you. You've been like a Disney princess. You're in like psychological thrillers. Now you're in this show. Do you ever think about like what you would be? I know you've been acting for a very long time. Do you ever think about what you would be doing if you weren't acting and like what path your life would have taken maybe if you weren't on Once Upon a Time?
Well, I certainly do now that I'm on this show. I think about it all the time. Um, when I graduated from drama school, I didn't necessarily assume that I would be a working actor. That still
Mm.
felt like a really far off dream. And I remember my plan was, I moved to New York and I was just going to see how it went. But I always kind of had a backup plan in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, I'll go apply to teach English for a year in some foreign country and just live abroad and volunteer or apply for a Fulbright, or I just kept thinking of things that would allow me to travel and
Mm.
live in various parts of the world. So I don't know where that would have taken me necessarily. But
Right.
I think that would have been I'd be a very different person. I'd probably be living somewhere abroad and hopefully able to speak another language, and who knows?
It's so funny that you still ended up in a career, I'm sure that allows you to travel, I'm assuming. But
Definitely.
you actually you
Definitely.
look a little clearer now. So I don't know if you can like keep your phone in this spot because
Yes,
it's,
I'm
yeah.
holding my phone because I'm clearly not a professional
No,
Instagrammer.
you're killing it. You're killing it. Don't worry. I just want people to be able to see your face, but it's odd. The internet's so perfect right here. You brought up
Okay, I'm
drama
not going to
school.
move. Yes.
Perfect. Amazing. So you brought up drama school. I know you studied in North Carolina, right? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yes.
reading this article. I want to talk to you about you, obviously. A lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
know you from that show. And something interesting that you do in that show as an actor is in episode 4, you had to record voiceover of your character's thoughts over scenes that you had already shot in you.
Mm-hmm.
Did that influence or impact how you prepped and acted and other things after that? Because I imagine that would be a really cool exercise to like sort of work on like acting with your face and like physicality.
It's very cool for the writers like that was like a gift. Penn was doing it throughout the entire show, which is a part of what makes it so brilliant is you're getting to see the subtext that's underneath everything. And yeah, it was like a little gift for me to do it for that one episode. And I do think it's a worthy practice or exercise. When I'm looking at a scene in anything, the real question is what's actually going on here? How do I actually feel about it? And it's
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes exactly the opposite of how you're behaving, or how you're
Mm-hmm.
behaving is covering for your true feelings and thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I feel like I still do that to this day. I don't always write it all out, um, although perhaps I should. And
Mm.
maybe for this next episode, I'll like write out my subtext and I'll report back and let you know how
Oh,
it goes.
okay. Yay. Yes. DM me. I would love to know because I feel like that's really interesting to have to like talk over, something that you've already shot. I thought that was interesting. But while we're on the topic of you, obviously you worked with Penn Badgley, who was in Gossip Girl, and you're in the Gossip Girl reboot. So I was wondering, did you talk to him about it at all? Did you get his advice on the tone? Was there any conversation between you two about Gossip Girl?
We talked a lot about Gossip Girl when we were filming back it was such a large part of his career and his growth as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was obviously like a fan,
Mm-hmm.
a Gossip Girl fan. Um, but I didn't ask him about doing the new one. I knew that, I was going to be just a small part of it. And I was like, oh, this will be fun for the
Mm-hmm.
fans.
It was. It's like it's kind of like a fun crossover, that you guys were both in you. He was like
Yeah.
Gossip Girl, and then you're both in you, and now you're in like the Gossip Girl reboot. But obviously, we're all awaiting you season 3. Are you a fan of the show? Do you get like excited to watch it even though you're not in it anymore? Like, what is it like for you when you're watching the show?
I just like burst, when like the creatives, Penn, like anyone who I know and worked with, I just like am sitting on the couch, just like bursting with pride. I just burst with pride
Oh,
when I watched them. I'm just like, I can't believe this is what we made, and it's come so far. You know, you're just so like happy, and I'm just like overjoyed for that whole team that it's that people have watched it
mm-hmm.
and love it. So I always just end up thinking about like my time and
Mm-hmm.
what a joy that was for me and how lucky we are that anyone gets to see it. So great.
Yeah. And what an impact your character Beck left on people. I mean, even reading the comments right now, everyone's like, Beck, 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 heart, heart, heart. You were fantastic as Beck. It's super cool. And I just love seeing your trajectory. I wanted to ask you about this indie rom-com called Mac and Rita.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that? Because you're attached, Diane Keaton's attached. Have you shot that yet? Like
We've
where
shot
is
it.
that? Oh my
Final,
God.
yeah, oh my gosh, I just died. Finally, I get to do a comedy. That's how I feel. I'm like, finally, everyone, I'm not gonna die. And I think I do cry a little, but just a little, you know.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm like weeping in a corner.
Yeah.
Um, it's amazing. I that was just I shot that kind of while I was doing Gossip Girl. I went for a month to LA to shoot that, and I
Hmm.
just thought I've died and gone to heaven. Diane Keaton is here,
I
and
mean, what was that like? What was your first interaction with Diane Keaton, first of all? Like, tell us about the first moment you met her and what hat was she wearing? I'm dying to know.
you know, I think she was in costume,
Okay.
and we technically play the same person. So
Ooh.
we're right. So we're wearing the same costume, and we have on these extremely tall snakeskin boots. I'm
Ooh.
pretty sure like Vogue covered her in this costume. So you
That's
can Google
incredible.
it, Diane Keaton in snakeskin boots, and
Uh,
and I was just like freaking out at meeting her, just bursting per usual. And
yeah.
I think I said something like "good luck," like with the shoes or something. She
Yeah.
was like, "Good luck to you."
That's so
I was like, oh
funny.
gosh.
When
She is amazing. Just
wow.
the most like down to earth, funny, gracious, no bullshit.
What a dope moment for you. When can we expect to see that? Do you know when?
I don't know. It's certainly in post production. They're definitely like putting it together, and
Okay.
people have seen it. I haven't seen it. Um,
Okay.
but Diane left me a voicemail, and I'm keeping it forever, and I just listen to it whenever I feel down. I just, I just,
Can you share a little of what she said, maybe?
every, she just has such her own way of speaking, and it's always, she's so full of joy and so happy for you, and
Yeah.
she's just very supportive. It was just a very supportive, loving voicemail about the film. And
Wow.
yeah, and a part of me is like glad I missed the call because now I have this voicemail
Now you have
forever.
it forever. That's
Yeah,
so cool. And you have Diane Keaton's phone number. What? That's
I
amazing.
know. I know.
Well, we will look forward to watching that, everyone. Mac and Rita, indie rom com. And it sounds like you were excited to do comedy. I think comedy's harder. I mean, I've never acted, but when I watch, I'm like, I feel like there's a musicality to comedy. It's like
Yeah,
someone says something, you got to say something back. Did you
totally.
like that experience? Was it challenging at all, or?
It's always challenging. Still stand by that. But for me, because I had never done it, not to that extreme. I guess
Hmm.
like Anna, Once Upon a Time, she was pretty funny, but still in this really dramatic world. And
Hmm.
I was like, oh, maybe I'm not funny. That was always the worry. I always thought I was going to show up to set and they're going to be like, oh gosh, she's not funny. What are we going to do?
Mm,
But the beauty of a comedy is you're really like free. You're free to keep trying. There's no
yeah.
like, you must have a single tear right now in this moment. There's no
Wow.
pressure. I felt like there was very little pressure. It was just like, let's see what happens, and then they, shape and mold it. And I was really just watching all of Diane's movies, and
Wow.
Yeah, and just watching what she was doing and just studying and hopefully,
That's
yeah.
really cool that you studied your partners. Is there one movie in particular that you felt like helped you the most for your character in Mac and Rita?
Yeah, there's this movie called, I want to say it's called Baby Boom,
Okay.
where it's in the 80s, I believe, and she is like this hardworking lawyer, and then all of a sudden she's been given a baby she has to take care of, and she moves to Vermont, and she's just struggling. And she
Mm.
has this incredible like mental breakdown scene that I watched over and over again. I was like, it's so great. You guys should all watch it. It's a great
Yes.
movie.
Baby Boom.
Baby Boom.
I love that. I also love Diane's meltdowns. They're so good. They're always like very,
They're so good.
they're so
Yes.
good. She's the best
Yes.
meltdowner.
Yeah, like you can see it. You can see it all happening.
You can feel it viscerally by watching. I want to get to some fan questions because everybody in here is just so excited. So let me read through them. But I have a personal fan question for you so that maybe you can answer while I go through this. So you were born on March 25th in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born on March 24th in Texas.
No.
Not the same year, but I am an Aries and I fully identify as an Aries. I don't know if you're into astrology. I know a lot of people
Very
are.
into it.
Do you think, how has being an Aries helped you in acting? That's what I want to know.
That's a great question.
Thanks.
I am very competitive.
Yes.
And I'm technically a Capricorn rising, so
Okay.
that's how I present is not always like you wouldn't meet me and be like, oh, she wants to, beat me in this game.
Right.
But I think like when I'm in an audition room, there's something like underneath me going like, I have to win this. I have to win.
Yes.
Or I'm gonna win. And I'm not to say I do. Many times I do not win, but I do think that I like when you thrive off of putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of an Aries thing. They like thrive off of adventure and doing something really like brave. And acting tends to be it's a weird kind of bravery because it is like a vulnerability and
yes,
just like putting yourself in front of the world to be seen. But I think that has helped.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I think being vulnerable is so courageous.
Yeah.
And when you have to do it in front of a bunch of people, like even me, when I like do this, I'm like, it's so scary, but like, I'm like, I gotta do it.
But you thrive off of it. Yeah. You're like, I have to jump off this cliff.
Yes.
That's
Adventure
the
always.
Aries. Yeah.
I love it. My Aries sister. Okay, I have a fan question for you. I'm going to put it up on the screen now. This is from Cece Tori. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And they wanted to know, do you have a favorite moment from filming Once Upon a Time?
Oh, I think my favorite moment, I was working with Josh Dallas, who happens to be like the most charming person in real life and just such a joy to work with. And we have this scene where I jump on him from like the rafters of the barn. But of course I don't actually jump on him, that's like a stunt double. So what I get to do is like awkwardly fall on top of him over and over again as if I've just jumped on top of him.
Right, like the fall. Yeah.
And I just remember like being like a really giggly schoolgirl about the fact that I was like falling on top of Josh Dallas over and over again. That's the first thing that popped up. Honestly, so many parts of that set and shooting were such a joy. It's all so good.
I love that. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. I feel like that's really hard to do, to sort of pull off the end of a stunt. I always think about that when I'm watching. So I want to go to another fan question. This one is from Naeem Khalid. And they would like to know, would you play something like powerful woman, like spy or like action? And I just want to add to that question. Yeah, you've done so many different things. Is there a genre, maybe you haven't done like spy or action that you would like to dive into more?
Absolutely. Every time I work out, I say to myself, this is just in case I'm a superhero. Or You know, that's how I motivate myself. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is for that part one day where I get to be the strong one. I really hope so. I would love to. I enjoy stunts and I enjoy action and I enjoy James Bond.
Ooh,
Um,
yes.
yeah, I love the idea of some kind of spy. I also love the idea of a spy something because they end up getting to tap into like a bunch of different parts of themselves. So even if they are this
Mm.
like badass genius taking down the world, they tend to have to like tap into whatever they're into.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely on the list. Let's put that out there for the
Yeah, let's
world.
put that out there.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I feel like you working out for it is already manifesting it. You know what I mean? You're like doing steps towards it. But I can't wait to see No Time to Die. I mean, people are saying it's the best Bond since Casino Royale. So that's super exciting. Hopefully we'll get to see you maybe in a future Bond franchise. Last fan question is from, oh, let me make sure you didn't lose me. Can you hear me, Elizabeth? Oh no. Oh man, we lost her, guys. Let me see if I can get her back in here just to say goodbye. It's okay, guys. It's Instagram Live, you know, it happens. There you are.
Sorry. Okay, good. Sorry, I got
It's okay.
disconnected.
No, you're so fine. I just had one more question for you. And someone wanted to know, is there a favorite character that you've played? And I thought that was interesting because, you know, is there a favorite or is it like picking like your favorite child? Is it just like impossible to do?
I think for now it's impossible to do
Okay.
because it is like a child, and when you're in it, you're so attached to whoever you're playing. So right now it
Hmm.
would be Jenny from Ordinary Joe, but as I work in film and do theater, I'm always just attached to who each character in the moment. I know that's not as fun of an answer, but it's true.
No, it's a real answer. And
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for coming on and talking to us. You are just such a joy to watch. And I'm sure I speak for everyone here in this IG Live right now that we just can't wait to see what you do next. But for now, everyone tune in to watch Ordinary Joe. Elizabeth plays Jenny, his college best friend, and it airs on NBC on Mondays. Elizabeth, thank you so much. You made it through your first Instagram Live.
I know. Woo! Thank you guys. Thank you
Woo!
so much.
You're the best. Hopefully, I'll get to see you soon.
Yes. Chat soon. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.